There were 12 tribes of Israel. 10 of these 12 tribes separated from the others and set up their own kingdom, the kingdom of Israel in the north. In the south you had the two remaining tribes, Judah and Benjamin, and later most of Levi joined them, and later still representative minorities, refugees from other tribes also attached themselves to Judah, and they became the ancestors of the Jewish people. Nevertheless, the majority of the Israelite nation was in the north, in the kingdom of Israel. And this kingdom of Israel was conquered by the Assyrians. They were taken into exile, where they lost consciousness of their ancestry. But nevertheless, we find in their places of exile that they continued to worship pagan gods the same as they had done before they were exiled, and that they had been exiled for doing this. And this in itself is an indication of the Israelite origins. They had worshipped Baal and other paganite gods in the land of Israel, and we find in the west amongst the Celtic peoples where the Israelites had converged, where a good portion of them had settled, where they were to be recognized as Israelites, we find them continuing to worship Baal. And this is what they had done whilst they were in the land of Israel. As we read in 2 Kings chapter 17, it says, beginning from verse 5, and the king of Assyria invaded all the land and came to Samaria. Samaria was the capital of the northern kingdom of Israel. In Hebrew, modern Hebrew is known as Shomron. You all heard the expression Yehuda and Shomron. Shomron has now been liberated by the Jewish people, and they're attempting to settle in it, and the whole world seems to be in an uproar because of this. And why, I don't know, because there is plenty of room for those few Jews who want to live there, and many more Jews should go and live there. And the Arabs should be encouraged to move to other places more amenable to their mode of existence. At all events, Samaria was the kingdom of the northern tribes of Israel. Samaria was the capital of this kingdom, and the Bible is also referred to as by Samaria as a generic name for the whole of the realm. So we are told that the king of Assyria had invaded the land, and he came to Samaria, and for 3 years he besieged it. And then we are told in the 9th year, from verse 6, in the 9th year of Hosea, the king of Assyria captured Samaria. He carried the Israelites away to Assyria and placed them in Halah on the harbour of the river of Gozan and in the cities of the Medes. This occurred because the people of Israel had sinned against the Lord their God, who brought them up out of the land of Egypt from under the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. They had worshipped other gods and walked in the customs of the nations, and the Lord drove out before the people of Israel and the customs of the kings of Israel had introduced. The people of Israel secretly did things that were not right against the Lord their God. They built for themselves high places at all their towns, from watchtower to fortified city. They set up for themselves pillars and sacred poles on every high hill and under every green tree. There they made offerings on all the high places, as the nations did, and the Lord carried out away before them. They did wicked things, provoking the Lord to anger. They served idols, which the Lord had said to them, "You shall not do this." Yet the Lord warned Israel and Judah by every prophet and every seer, saying, "Turn from your evil ways and keep my commandments and my statutes in accordance with the law, with all the law that I commanded your ancestors, that I sent to you by my servants the prophets." They would not listen, but were stubborn as their ancestors had been, who did not believe in the Lord their God. They despised his statutes and his covenant that he made with their ancestors, and the warnings that he gave them. They went after false idols and became false. They followed the nations that were around them, concerning whom the Lord had commanded them that they should not do as they did. They rejected all the commandments of the Lord their God and made for themselves cast images of 2 calves. They made a sacred pole, worshipped all the host of heaven, and served Baal. They made their sons and their daughters pass through the fire. They used divination and augury, and they sold themselves to do evil in the sight of the Lord, provoking him to anger. Therefore the Lord was very angry with Israel and removed them out of his sight. None was left but the tribe of Judah alone. Baal in Hebrew means Lord, Master. It also means husband. And in a verbal form, Baal, boil, means to have intercourse, sexual intercourse. And Baal was often represented by a phallic symbol, as may still be seen in some areas. In the Bible, Baal may refer to a major deity known by that name, or to local manifestations of him, of Baal, known as other names. And we have another word in Hebrew with a similar meaning. This word is Adon. It also means Lord or Master, or Adoni means my Lord. And nowadays this term is used for God in some cases, or a similar term is used in respectful address to someone else. You say, excuse, Slika Adoni, excuse me sir, or you refer to someone as Adoni or Adon, meaning the equivalent of a sir in English. And this too means Lord, means sire. And we find in the biblical terms the name Baal may have been synonymous with Adoni. It may have been applied to God at one stage in a respectful manner, but due to its adoption by pagan peoples, or its equation with a term that the pagans used for their own deity, the Israelites stopped using it. Also, another point is that the term Baal has sexual connotations, whereas Adoni does not. So Adoni is more respectful, and Baal would not be proper to use to apply to the God of Israel. At least in Israeli terms, in Israeli eyes, it would not be proper, though the pagans may not have thought so. But this too is worth keeping in mind, because there are indications that the Israelites conflated, they synthesized, they took aspects of Baal worship and they applied them to the worship of the God of Israel. And they may have also done the opposite, applied aspects of Hebrew practice to Baal worship, because there are indications of this. We in 2 Kings 17 verse 9, as translated, it says, the people of Israel secretly did things that were not right against the Lord their God. And this expression translated as did secretly in Hebrew is v'yahapu, mean cover over. So the verse may be alternately translated as saying, 2 Kings 17:9, the people of Israel covered over things were not correct against the Lord their God. In other words, they synthesized. They applied to God principles and attributes that were not so, that were not correct. And this was also one of the reasons for them having been exiled. Thank you. May the God of Israel bless all of you.